everyone, Alessandro here. I'm a Qigong practitioner, and today I'm very excited to have Patricia Goka here, who works with health and helping people get fast, strong, and moving with ease. I like that expression you use introducing your company, which is called Holistic PT Studio. So welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Alessandro.
And just to say, we haven't met in real life, as many people haven't this year, but we've met online in a networking event. And I'm just doing some inspiring chats with people who could give us some useful tips for these days, you know, while we're working from home, how we can stay healthier, more vibrant, and, you know, more inspired. And Patricia, maybe the first question is, how did you get into the kind of health, personal training, this whole area? What brought you into it yourself then?
Well, it's probably a two-pronged story. So I've always had an interest in sort of health and wellness and being physically active. So even from school, off and on, sort of in my 20s. And so I always knew I was going to work in this field, although my 20 years in finance, sort of, you know, for my sins, it's sort of something I did just outside university. But it's been 2 years now in this field, and I started because I wanted a break from the office. And I realized I was going to do this as an early retirement career. So beginning of last year, I took a sort of 3 to 6 month break. I worked in the gym, and before I knew it, I realized I wasn't going back to my finance world. And I decided, okay, well, I want to, you know, start afresh and start my new life as helping people get stronger, fitter, and yeah, sort of living, you know, see what the body can do for them and sort of maximizing. I started focusing on sort of movement as a foundation and the basics, because although I was always physically active, doing lots of strength training, I was dancing for about 12, 13 years, I was always getting injured, and I never understood why, because I thought, you know, exercise is supposed to be good for you. And so yes, didn't understand why. And then a couple of years ago, I found myself, he called himself a movement coach. And I thought, oh, this sounds interesting, because on his website, he was talking about sort of balancing the body and understanding the weaker areas. And he took me through a sort of a 2-hour movement MOT to understand what's going on with my body. I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. And yes, so basically got some measuring tools out. He was measuring spinal curves, what's happening at my hips, you know, one side more rotated than the other, leg length. Looking at functional movement, so how I was squatting, how I was lunging, and posture. And he basically said my mechanics were all over the place. My head was one side, my torso was here, one hip was more rotated. He said when I squat, I drifted to the right. He asked me, he said, do I not feel it? I said, no. He said, can you not see it? Can you not see it in the mirror? I said, no. So yeah, when you start looking clearly and start tuning into your body, you realize I've just been ignoring all of my aches and pains, all of my movement dysfunction. And yeah, so he opened my eyes to a new way of viewing how the body should be moving and functioning in our day-to-day life. So I'm not sure where the issue started from in the beginning, but it's a case of this is where I am now. And he showed me sort of techniques and training on how to rebalance the body and pay attention to what's going on, because the body's always, it's always giving you signals and signs that something's going on. It's up to you whether you ignore it or just say it's nothing, or whether you start and take action. So that was the beginnings of, wow, this is really interesting. I want to do what he's doing. So therefore he told me, okay, these are some of the courses you should be doing on top of the personal training qualification you did a few years ago, if you were interested. So that is my journey into, you know, making sure your foundations are solid and then building sort of pillars of strength on top of that. So
that's so interesting, because I think you made a really important point. I think so many people, you see them just for example, jogging, and you look at the posture, how they're jogging, and they just don't look very well, and you think really push themselves with the wrong kind of, posture, and, maybe leaning to one side, this and that. Over time, that's going to cause quite a lot of problems, even though they're doing exercise. It's this idea you mentioned about that the movement is kind of aligned in the right way. So that sounds like a really important thing to add to your personal training,
Yeah, so, well, I guess the real issue is nobody's telling, well, the message is not really out there in sufficient quantities and constantly being reiterated that our foundations are important. Just like when you build a house, you have to dig deep down and secure the foundations, because no matter how pretty the house is on top, if it's on quicksand, well, it's not going to last very long. So that's what we all need to do. So the message is, yes, get moving, have exercise, it's good for you. However, most of us are sedentary most of the day, and basically your body will adapt to whatever the posture you're adopting, and the small little micro changes every single minute, every single day, all build up. And that's why you find people are probably, when they start running, and then over time they'll start to having sort of knee pain or hip pain or ankle pain, and it could be down to just the mechanics which need to be addressed.
Yeah. So have you found that this year you've been a lot busier, as a result of lockdown, that people have wanted, your help a lot more because of postural issues and wanting to feel more, more energized and moving with ease more?
I guess sort of my sort of journey at the beginning of lockdown, because I sort of end of last year decided I don't want to work in a gym anymore, and I wanted to have my own space to practice this sort of corrective exercise, start on the foundation. So beginning of this year, I was looking for a studio space, and I found one in Croydon, and to focus on sort of this side of things. And so, yes, I opened up sort of 3 weeks before lockdown, the first lockdown in March, and then sort of closed. And then I realized, oh, I don't know what to do now. So literally buried my head, just sat at home, sat in the garden and figured out, what am I going to do? Because my business was all about assessing people and sort of hands-on approach. And it's like, well, how am I going to do this online? So it took me a while to figure out how am I going to do it. And yes, so now I'm starting to probably get more of a consistent message. So I was a bit lost, I would say, to be honest, in the beginning. So now it's a case of consistent message. I can deliver a service online. And now, yes, now sort of the momentum is building up. So now, yes, it's a case of now I'm giving the message, movement matters. You don't need to live with your aches and pains. And yes, it's time to start addressing them.
Great.
So, yeah,
it's a real skill I've noticed. I started teaching my Qigong online this year for the first time. And in the beginning, it's not that easy to kind of, see people's posture and adjust. It's, after all, you're on a screen and but it's a skill, isn't it, to kind of get used to that, and maybe, like you say, the basics, make sure people get the basics first, and then you build on that. But it's so fortunate that we do have these things like Zoom and, line. Otherwise, many people would be suffering a lot more, I think.
Yeah, so definitely sort of learning how it will best work online, what I can do online, and what's providing value as well. So yeah, so I had to evolve, to make changes. Some things wasn't working. So now it's at a good place where definitely can provide lots of value.
Good. And look, so a couple of things to ask. One is posture. So people are sitting a lot. I know you're an advocate of kind of, having good posture, obviously, when you're working. Can you say a little bit about, I know sometimes you talk about standing while working, or can you talk a little bit about the posture first, and then maybe we can show something that people can do themselves,
Sure. So I guess, barring any sort of physical disabilities that you've grown up with or born with, there is a sort of what they call sort of optimal posture. So it's a case of having sort of the ear, mid-shoulder, the hip, knee, ankle bone, all in a relatively straight line. However, and that's sort of the optimal mechanics of which all of our limbs will move around our torso. But over time, for whatever reason, it could be sitting down a lot, it could be from a previous injury that you've adopted a slightly less optimal posture. And the typical one for desk-based employees is sort of, because you're hunched over your computer, sort of a curve in the upper spine, so hypothoracic here, rotated shoulders forward, tightness in the chest, probably even the head quite forward, or what's they call it? You had that on one of your
I think
posts. It was turtle, or no, text neck.
Neck and text neck.
So we're all of the exhibits of sort of modern day living. So so over time, move, you kind of stay that way. So muscles in the chest get very tight, and because it's attached to the top of the arm, the bone here, it pulls the short shoulder forward. Now, when this is pulled forward, you're going to have trouble moving the arm, because if you're doing this, you're stretching the muscle. So restrictions at the shoulder will mean that might lead to some sort of injury here, or is an added weakness to the posture. A curved spine, I say excessive curve in the upper back, can also mean it's quite rigid. And if you think about the skeleton, the dummy skeleton, see how flexible and how it moves, and it moves and it has all those segments for a reason. So we need to stretch up, we need to bend, we need to rotate, and any restriction will mean that the body's not free to move. So it's going to look for its easiest outlet at which to move. So it's usually the weakest or the most unstable joint, and that's where likelihood of injury increases. So when you're at your desk, you need to sort of be a bit more conscious of having good ergonomics. That's why they have all the DSE assessments, because they realize that if you don't have a good setup, then it can lead to issues for later down in life. So just having, sorry, I have a standing desk, so
well, that's good. You see a lot of people do standing desk. Tell us a little bit. Do you adjust the height according to the eye level and things, or?
Yes. So when it comes to whether you're sitting down or whether you're standing up, you still have to have your screen at sort of eye level. So you could be standing up and still peering down at your laptop if you don't prop your laptop up on some books and have a separate keyboard and mouse. Yes. So even if you're sitting down, you ideally not be peering down. Having your screen at eye level is optimal. So that sort of helps the posture of the upper body. Having your elbows flexed at sort of 90 degrees ish, rather than up here or down here, is also, it should be quite relaxed here, around 90 degrees, quite relaxed. So what I used to do in the office, I was very, very bad, is I would always have my notepad in front of me, and I'll always be reaching over my notepad with my keyboard. So I was always in this position, which is quite bad. So I'll always keep my notebook in front and then my keyboard. So that was a very bad habit I used to develop, but not now.
Easy to do. I mean, these things and then years go by maybe, and people, as you say, have some quite big issue as a result of them. Another
one is people on their desk, always on one side. It's probably shortening the muscles here, lengthening them. It's probably a lot of pressure on your elbow, a lot of pressure in this shoulder joint, sort of shortening the muscles in the neck. So it's all about sort of having good alignment as well.
Alignment. Thank you. That's good. And is there one thing, I don't know how easy it is to either show something or one thing that people can really keep an eye on, because they will be sitting more in the next few weeks or months even, whether on Zoom or on their sofa. Is there something you can share that's something easy that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. So I encourage sort of movement, a little bit of movement every hour. So even if it's just sort of tilting neck to the side, It's just because we're generally fixed. It's not necessarily sedentary for a long period. It's just with no movement. So if we just tell the muscles to relax a bit, so it could be just to the side, down, backward, shoulders. The big thing is the shoulder blade and getting all of the muscles attached to the shoulder blade moving. I think there's about 15 or 16, don't quote me, attached to the shoulder blade. And that gets really fixed. And if that gets fixed, there's all sorts of issues that can arise. So literally on the hour, every hour, reach up and down, just to tell the muscles to relax. And then you can go forward and backwards. Maybe I do it here, forward. So if you reach forward, you might feel a bit of a stretch around the shoulder blades. Backwards, you might feel a bit of a stretch across the chest. You can even go at angles. So it could be for 10, 20, 30 seconds, because that way,
each way,
all the muscles,
good, I can feel that. Oh, that's a good one.
Shoulder rolls, forwards, backwards, just to release the tension, just to get the energy flowing a bit more. So simple ones. So neck, shoulders, reach, or even if you had the back of a chair, can grab the back of the chair and get some rotation to keep the hips facing forward. Make sure you're breathing throughout. So yes, what we must get back into the spine is sort of flexion, extension, and rotation, because any restriction in any one of those three is you're asking for trouble, basically. So you don't.
People really, enjoy that. It's very simple to do, but just to remind, keep, on the hour rather than sit for 3 hours and then think, oh God, I feel.
So even if you're making a cup of tea, what are you doing while the kettle's boiling? Are you on your phone, or can you just do this? Just to relax things. So just try and build it into your day at easy points in between your calls. Just have a quick stretch. It's another nice one. Just lean into the side. Feel the stretch all the way down the side of the body. You can even use your chair for to anchor. If you had one, feel the stretch along. 1 minute. 1 minute is more than enough.
Great.
1 minute is enough.
Great exercises. Thank you. Look, if people want to get in touch, I know you've got a website. I'll put it down below. And you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, and people can get in touch. And I notice you have like a free call. People can call you to have a chat initially. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's 45 minutes or up to 45 minutes. So just for you to tell me what's going on for you, and hopefully I can give you a few tips to move you forwards. And if I can't help, hopefully I can recommend someone who can. Well,
it sounds great. And thank you. So look, thank you for being my guest today. And you asked about editing these calls. I haven't edited any of them, nor will I edit this one. So thank you for not swearing.
What? Never.
Actually, I've had 3 guests on. Nobody has sworn. So, and nowadays swearing, doesn't mean anything anymore the way it used to. But look, lovely to chat, and I'll see you soon online. And I really appreciate you sharing these great tips, and I'm sure people will get in touch as and when they need help from you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.